Hey, everybody, and welcome. Welcome, Bethany.
Thanks, Scott.
How are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
Good. You're my first friend
Yay!
that I've ever had on my podcast.
Your first friend.
All these other people, I know them vaguely, but you're my first very good friend. Hi.
Yay.
How are
Hi.
you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
So I'm just going to go right into my two questions.
Okay. You only have two?
Yeah, I usually save these for the last. So I told Joni I was going to just hit you with these right away.
Okay.
So who is Bethany?
Okay.
And what do you want?
Ooh.
So we'll start with who are you? Hey, Bethany. Who are you today?
Who am I today? Okay. Well, I am a beloved child of God. I am yeah, that's a really good question. Like, are you asking the depth of who I am, like my core identity, or
all of it? Yeah, not just
or like
roles.
what do I do for a living?
Some people go, well, I got a bachelor's at Humboldt.
Okay,
core. Let's go core. Let's go deep.
Let's go core. Let's go deep. Okay, yeah, I am still figuring myself out. I feel like I've never quite arrived at where I'm supposed to be or who I'm supposed to be. And I'm okay with being in that middle space of curiosity about myself, about my place in the world, about what I'm called to do in this life. And I know I mess up and I know I get things wrong. And I'm okay with uncertainty. And I'm okay with doubts about myself, others, and God. I'm okay with things not being perfectly put together or buttoned up. And it's easier to say those things than live it out, of course.
Yes, it is.
I do wish that things were put together a little bit more or buttoned up.
Yeah.
But most of my life, that is not the truth.
We don't get that luxury. Yeah.
No, we don't.
No, those are the things that trouble me the most. It's like the unknowns and the things I can't control. But
yeah.
So comfortable in that space of discovery. I think of discovery when you in curiosity, which our friend Tamala always says, hey, let's get curious. I'm curious.
I think having that sense of wonder in the world and wonder about who we are as people is really important. I'm writing a book right now on adoption, and the thing I'm coming back to again and again is how much we tend to say no towards people and towards ourselves instead of yes towards ourselves and others around us. We approach people out of a sense of apprehension or fear instead of wonder and curiosity. And I think that I have a lot to learn along the way from each other, from people around me.
So it's not the instant no. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. A lot of us are the instant yes. The pleaser.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Well, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm an Enneagram 9 for those who know about the Enneagram, and that's somebody who's a peacemaker. But I easily resort to peacekeeper, where I just want to make sure that things are settled around me and everybody feels at peace, but we aren't doing the hard work of digging deep enough to make peace. It's almost like a keeper of peace throws the garbage under the rug and then stomps on the rug and pretends everything's okay. Whereas a peacemaker takes the garbage out and says, look at this. This is what we're dealing with here. How do we do this gently, kindly, compassionately, and see things, the truth for what it is, and then move forward. So
the second part of the question is, what do you want? What would you like today in the universe?
Peace. I want peace.
We're taking your order. What would you like?
What do I want? That's such a loaded question, Scott.
I know. I thought I'd get the hard stuff out first.
I should ask you that same question. Maybe you've already thought about it for yourself.
I haven't.
I didn't think so.
It's good to rethink it, though.
Yeah.
These are both Joni's dad's questions.
Okay.
He's recovering alcoholic, marathon runner. Tom was too much fun.
Yeah.
But he said, if you could figure out who you are and what you want, those are the two questions. If you got some part of that, you got maybe the beginning of an identity.
Yeah. Yeah. What do I want?
You want to write
healthy,
a book? Another book?
Yeah. I'm writing another book. I want healthy community. I want to be the kind of person. Oh, you got people calling you. You are popular.
Not anymore.
Got to ring that bell. I want to be the kind of person who can sit back in a chair and be perfectly at ease within myself and with those around me. And create spaces of ease for people that they feel like they belong, and that they are included.
I like it.
Yeah. I always felt like, growing up, I always felt like an outsider to the things that were happening around me, and in relationships and friendships and groups and youth group, all the things. I felt like I was somebody on the outside looking in, and I never want anybody else to feel that. So as much as I can create spaces where people feel included, wanted, that they belong.
So do you have an eye out for that person that's standing aside from the group?
Always.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. I'll be like in a conversation with someone and I'm like, just stay focused on this person, Bethany. They'll be fine. Somebody else will talk to them over there. But yet at the same time, I'm just like, I got to go and make sure this person feels that they're included.
Right.
Yeah.
Finally happened to me. I was at a church service at Bethel and Arcata, where it was behind Safeway, whatever it was, Assemblies of God. Anyway.
Yeah.
And Anthony Skinner was leading worship, who was amazing. Hi, Anthony. And it was such a weird experience. I was there alone and no one said hi. It's like, is this scripted? Do I smell bad? What am I exuding here? And it was like, and it was a really good lesson to go, next time I see the person flying solo, go say hi.
Yeah.
Hey.
Totally.
Friend, what's up, friendo? What are you doing?
Yeah. And I think most people in this world we're all pretty insecure. We're all pretty scared and wondering if we will be accepted. And so if I always figure if I can take on that mindset of everyone else is just as insecure as I am or just as scared as I am, then I don't feel as uncomfortable approaching people because I can't wait for them to approach me. Because they're probably just as scared and insecure as I am.
Or more.
Yeah.
In the speaking business, they said, just envision everyone in your audience with no clothes on. I never really got that, but
that seems like I would be very distracted.
That'd be a hard one to kind of swallow. Yeah. Anyway, well, good. Who were you at age 15? You grew up in 15. LA area, is that correct?
I grew up in the Bay Area.
Bay Area, that's right.
Yeah. At age 15, I was started high school. I went to a Christian high school. I was raised in a Christian home and homeschooled. So I went from being homeschooled all the way through junior high until I started high school at a Christian high school. I had braces from age 13, from like 8th grade until my freshman year of college. So that homeschooled and braces and all the things kind of maybe added to the insecurity that I was feeling.
Your teeth are really straight.
They're very straight. 7 years of braces will do that. And yeah, I swam in high school. So my day consisted of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting to the pool at 5:30, swimming for an hour and a half, and then getting over to school, being at school for however long, and then going back to the pool at 3:30 or 4, and then swimming for 2 hours, and then doing homework. So it was just a lot. And then also my parents I was raised in a home where my dad had a ministry called Christian Service Brigade. So he was supported financially through other people's love and financial support. So swim team was really expensive. There were 5 kids in my family and we just didn't have the financial means. So in order for us to be on swim team, we had 5 paper routes. So my mom would get us up early in the morning. If we had swim practice, then we didn't have to deliver papers. So it was either deliver papers or go to swim practice. And yeah, we would be doing the paper route before school and then getting out to school and
earn it.
Yeah, it was a full life. Then youth group.
Yeah, 2 workouts a day swimming. So you were a hardcore swimmer.
hardcore swimmer.
What'd you swim? Freestyle?
Breaststroke. All of them. I hated butterfly. I don't like doing things that are painful.
Butterfly's
it's too hard. I give up fast.
Yeah. Did you play water polo too?
I did in college. Yeah. I was terrible at that.
Yeah.
I could stay afloat and I could block things, but when it came to like hand-eye coordination,
passing, shooting.
Yeah, no, could not. I seriously cannot do that still.
Water polo,
no coordination.
It was brutal in high school.
Yeah, they're gnarly.
We were a bunch of lower middle class bad news bears, and we played Coronado and beat them. And coach got thrown in the pool. He's an old ex-Marine. Ruined his leather belt and his wallet, and
good times.
That was a hard workout the next day.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but it was a big victory for a bunch of knuckleheads. So 15. What were you like at 20? What were you all about at 20?
I met Jason at 20.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 20 when I met him. We were at a Christian camp called Humboldt,
mm-hmm.
and we had been going the same week with our churches. He was from LA and I was from the Bay, and we were going the same week since junior high, but we didn't meet until we were out of high school and counseling for high school. So at 20, we were already planning for marriage. We knew we wanted to get married right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is right away? Like within weeks or?
So we met at the camp. He saw me jumping on a pogo stick in a pogo stick competition that I won, of course.
Of course.
And he turned to his friend and he said, I'm going to marry that girl one day, which is so weird.
Wow.
But it turned out to be correct.
Prophetic.
And so he got my email address and we emailed back and forth and talked on the phone. And a couple weeks after camp ended, he came down to the Bay Area or up to the Bay Area, and we spent the day together, and
wow,
it was wonderful. We just really connected, and then like within 3 months, I think it was, we opened a joint banking account to save for marriage.
Whoa.
So that's what I mean by right away.
Wow. You are my density. Destiny.
Destiny. And then we got married. I was 21 and he was 20. And that was 22 years ago.
Wow.
22 years ago. Yeah.
Huh. Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks.
Is your anniversary in the summer?
February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like everybody we know it's June, but what was life like at age 30? So fast forward 9 years and were you guys in Humboldt yet?
We were. Yeah. We came to Humboldt when I was 26, I think, 27, 2006. We moved to Humboldt and started Catalyst Church. And within like a month of being here, we got our second kid, Isaac. We had an unsuccessful adoption with our first kid, Matthew. And so we got our son, Isaac. And so by the time I was 30, we had all three of our kids at that point.
Wow.
So we got Emily a few years later. And then a year after Emily, we got Antonio.
Nice.
Yeah. So at 30, we had 3 kids, and still doing the pastoring thing. I wasn't a pastor until later on. I don't know. I don't really think I believed that women could be pastors. It took me a long time to accept that for myself. So I was a stay-at-home mom, which was fantastic. I loved being able to do that. And it was a privilege to be able to stay home with the kids until Antonio was about 5.
Were you guys always in Blue Lake?
No, when we moved here, we moved to Arcata. And then from Arcata, we moved to Eureka, to a couple different places. And then we bought a house in Blue Lake 9 years ago.
We love Blue Lake.
Oh my gosh, me too. We just feel so grateful to live there.
Was it sunny today in Blue Lake?
It was sunny in Blue Lake today.
Man. Oh, wow.
And you could just see the fog just like creeping over the hills.
It's just crap here all day. Yeah. It was just terrible. So what brought you and the team to Catalyst? So and want to talk about your pastoral duties too, but what prompted all that? I can know a little bit of the backstory, but
sure. Yeah. We were living in Orange County. Jason and I were going to college at a school called Vanguard University in Costa Mesa. And we were living in something called married student housing. We had never been to Humboldt. Well, we drove through on our honeymoon, but I remember passing through and being like, this is a weird place.
Sketchy.
I wonder why people live here.
Humboldt County, folks, California.
Yeah. So we were living in married student housing, and we met this couple who were from Fortuna, Dan and Rachel Davis. And we got to be really close with them, really good friends with them and a few other couples. And Dan felt really called to come to Humboldt to start a Christian college. And so Jason and Dan would go on these long runs and just talk about this vision that Dan had. And Jason was just like, "What would you ever think of starting a church first before college?" And he's like, "Yeah, maybe." And so then by that point, Jason and Dan started planning to start this church together.
Wow.
And they were both on staff at a church called Rock Harbor down there, and they worked together there. And so
that's Orange County?
That's in Orange County, yeah, in Costa Mesa.
We met a guy from Rock Harbor Sunday at Branches.
No way.
In Arcata.
Really?
Jeff, what's his name? He had Straw Hat Pizza up here in Arcata for years.
Oh, okay.
In Uniontown.
Wow.
He went to Rock Harbor.
Okay.
He was visiting here.
Yeah. So Rock Harbor helped helped us start Catalyst. Sent us with money and resources and pastoral care and all the things that we needed.
So you got Saddleback, Rock Harbor, Mariners. There's a whole lot of churches.
Mariners started Rock Harbor. Yeah.
My friend Jim said never call it the OC. It's like calling it Diego or Frisco.
Right.
Don't do that.
No one appreciates it.
I get really mad on the phone. Hey, dude, we're going to Mendo. Stop saying those things. Well, cool. So what happened to starting Catalyst? What was the dynamic? And because you guys were at the community center in Arcata for a long time, right?
We were at actually the D Street Neighborhood Center. We met there for a while, and then and it was a night service. It was really fun. A lot of college students, a lot of energy, and we were all young at that point too. And then we met at the Presbyterian Church in Arcata on 11th and G Street. That was a great location. From there, we went to Humbrew's, and we met in their little venue area, which was great in a lot of ways. It was fun to have a church and a bar, but it really was hard with kids ministry because before we would get service started, we'd have to like mop the floors from the party the night before. Right. The floors were always gross and sticky. It smelled like beer and weed.
Like
and
beer.
Yeah. We had like the kids in the green room, and there would definitely be like joints in the corner, and we're like, oh, this isn't really working. So from there, we moved back to the Presbyterian Church, and we were there for a few years. And then Jason and I became Methodist pastors. So we pastored two different churches, and we moved Catalyst to the Methodist Church until a couple years ago when we got our first building. So Catalyst is now...
So it's moved around a bit.
It's moved around a bit, yeah. And we became a morning service instead of a night service. So our service is at 11, and we meet right next to the co-op in Arcata. And there's like a 3-story building that there's like a surf shop next to it. And
it just closed.
Pilates.
It's got stuff on it.
Oh, yeah. The surf shop did close.
Yeah. There's Pilates and yoga next door.
Yeah. And food-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they're going to reopen the surf shop. I don't know.
Huh.
If they weren't, then we were going to try to get it for our kids' ministry. So there'd be more space for that. But I think it's going to reopen as a surf shop.
So how did you launch into being pastor, Bethany?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. Tell us all about that. Because, full disclosure, I look at Bethany as my pastor and my friend.
Thanks.
And Jason. And so it's amazing. And I wanted to say that. So
Thanks, Scott.
what's your deal with the pastorship? How's that working out?
It started different for me because, again, I was raised pretty conservative where women weren't really allowed to be a pastor or lead any kind of, any men over the age of like 14 or something like that, or even like younger.
So there was a number?
Yeah.
So you could be children's church, but not teenage boy church.
Right, exactly. And it would be a children's director, not a children's pastor at the church that I grew up. So I really believed that women weren't allowed to be in a state of ministerial support in that way. And obviously a lot of people still believe that. There's scriptures that if reading it at face value, it definitely looks like that's absolutely true. And there's a lot of controversy right now in the world. The Southern Baptist Convention just doubled down on their mandate that women are not allowed to be pastors or take on that role. And there's been a number of churches that have left the Southern Baptist Convention, Saddleback being one. And it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's full of contention, and it's really sad to see the disunity that happens in the church. It happens everywhere, but it feels more obvious in the church when it happens because we're supposed to be set apart.
Yeah. Disappointing.
It's disappointing. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. And so I didn't think I would ever be a pastor. The first sermon I preached at Catalyst was just a couple months after we started Catalyst. And I really felt like I was just going to share my heart so I wouldn't be like preaching, because sharing your heart as a lady is okay, but preaching, maybe not. So, and I stood up there and I gave this sermon and I was just like, oh crap, what do I do with this? Like, I feel like God is calling me into something that God would never call me into. I feel like God is giving me this gift that God would never say yes to. What do I do with this? And it was something I wrestled with for a really long time. I had to do a lot of research, a lot of prayer. I spoke with different women who are pastors and different men who are affirming of women pastors. And it was something that it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I lived in that tension for a long time.
Yeah.
And I still preached here and there. And then when Dan and Rachel left Catalyst and moved to Southern California, I took on the main teaching role, which I never saw coming.
Pretty pastoral.
Yeah. Yeah. And then about maybe a year after I was doing most of the preaching, our leadership team, we had like an elders meeting, and they said, it's time that we name you a pastor of this church. And I was like, I don't need that title. It's fine. I'm fine with just Bethany. I don't need the title. And they said, yeah, but other people need you to have that title. So you need to take that. And I was like, okay. And they prayed over me, and then they licensed me as a pastor. I didn't have a pastoral degree. I have a degree in psychology, like just a BA. And then I went to seminary and got a master's of divinity. So yeah.
Yeah, let's do a podcast. Joni's reading this book by this guy. I don't know who he is, but he did this whole thing in women in ministry. He spent about half the book on Deborah, the judge.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she was like hardcore.
Yeah.
She was like,
dude, seriously.
She led a lot of stuff, and then talks about Roman women and how Roman women had leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's tension because there's a lot of poverty amongst females too. There was that crazy gender gap.
Yep.
So it was really interesting on that. So I have really enjoyed every sermon I've heard you preach.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I wasn't out there critically with my notebook taking notes.
Furiously scribbling notes.
Ever. But I listen. And so, Romans is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. We finished that series on Romans, and oof. Yeah.
Yeah. Not an easy one.
No.
How about, let's shift for a second. I want to talk about the books. We'll come back to the books.
Yeah.
Because you've written two, right?
Yeah.
Let's go with that. Let's go with the book. So you've written the book on Lent. Yeah.
I did one stepping into Lent, and it's 40 days, and they're guided reflections on an area of scripture, and just about the wilderness of life, like walking through the difficulty of the losses that we have.
Like recently?
Yeah. I know. I feel like I need to bust out Lent again, just because there's been so much loss in our community, and
it's just weird.
Difficulty.
I don't know. Hey, you folks out there in your communities, has there been anybody?
Yeah, it's just
sick or lost or dying? Because it's just, and I think it comes with knowing a lot of people in Humboldt County.
Sure. Yeah.
So this county, you're like 2 layers away from knowing somebody that knows somebody that you know.
Yep. We're so connected here. Yeah,
and there's that Kevin Bacon. That's 7. This is like 1 or 2.
I know.
And we talk about that a lot. And it's I would say weird, and I don't know if that's a good word. It's palpable and weird.
Yeah.
There's this sense of, like, this lady that works with me, her husband died in Texas. She had to go back, and the murders, and there's a friend. Yeah, so it's just weird.
It is.
And I don't know where we're going with that one, but so Lent is. I thought about that this morning. Joni and I tried to do a little reading every morning.
Yeah.
So we're reading, what's his name, the Catholic
Richard Rohr.
The other one.
N.T. Wright? No, he's Anglican. Nouwen, Henry Nouwen.
Henry Nouwen.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And we've put the Lent book over here, although Lent's been gone for what?
It's been
3 months.
It's been like 3 months.
I was thinking, I go, man.
2 months, I guess.
We start stuff and never finish. We got to finish. We're a couple days away.
Yeah.
Finish it. So what's the other book?
So stepping into Advent is the other one. And Advent is all about, preparing for Christmas, preparing for the arrival of Christ. So starting in a space of darkness and moving progressively towards light. I feel like a lot of the things that I write about, I don't try to just create this like happy-go-lucky narrative. I feel like there's just this reality of loss that we live in as humans. Being human means struggling with complexity and difficulty and really difficult situations that we all go through in our lives. So I don't want to just slap some positivity on it, even though I am somebody who easily sees the positive in life. I like to get there quickly.
Top 3 takeaways. Here they come.
Here we go.
Right.
But the Jewish people have this practice of sitting Shiva, of sitting in the silence of death, with their community. And I think that that's a really important practice, not to offer some sort of platitude or like, oh, God just needed another angel or something, everything happens for a reason, but actually sitting in the discomfort of what death is, that death happens to all of us, and we don't always have words to explain it away or words to make sense of the tragedies in our lives. But I think as human beings, we're called to sit in the discomfort with each other without those words.
It's okay process.
Yeah.
I run from it constantly.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I think that's a human response to want to like numb or avoid pain.
Yeah.
And sometimes just for our own mental health, we have to numb or we have to avoid pain, but we can't be there for too long because then things just deteriorate within us and around us.
And the addictions and demons appear and
totally
the appetites begin.
Yeah.
That's really good. Jody and I were just talking about this. So that idea of sitting in the darkness. And I said, well, you got to do it with God.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, but I need to honor that space. And I said, well, you can't do it without God. And so we had this kind of, I don't know if it was a debate. It was just interesting because there is grief.
Yeah.
And I went and grieved my father at the beach for 15 minutes and I had a timer and I was finished. Or so I thought. Till 9 months later when it came out in snotty, wet, gross tears and just heaving chest. And so grief is interesting. So I want to go back to the 2 books because I think you're on a theme there that I want you to, if you would kindly elaborate on that the joy comes in the morning, but sometimes there's the night that we have to walk through because that makes the joy all the more sweet. Yeah. So there's that duality and that tension, if you will.
Yeah, that tension. I was thinking this week about this passage of Thomas, which the disciple Thomas, and and traditionally in the church we've tacked on the name doubting in front of his name. He's never just Thomas; he's doubting Thomas.
Right.
And I was reflecting about how he was somehow not involved with the rest of his friends, the rest of the disciples after Jesus died on the cross, was risen from the dead, and then appeared to the disciples. And he appeared to them, and Thomas wasn't there for some reason. I don't know if he had to take care of, bring his kid to work or something. I don't know where he was. He wasn't there. He missed out. And he says to the disciples, he says, well, I won't believe that you saw Jesus unless I can put my hand on his side and touch his wounds. And whatever, I get it. I get that need for sure. And then the story goes on. Time passes. I don't know how long, but eventually Thomas is there with his friends and disciples, these other disciples, and Jesus appears again. And Jesus approaches Thomas and says, peace be with you. That was Jesus's response. First, peace be with you.
And that means something special actually in Hebrew, right?
Yeah.
Is that a shalom,
It's a
shalom?
Shalom, the sense of like everything's okay. Everything is whole in you and around you. And even in these wounds that are like my body broken, there's still this wholeness that happens because of the peace that I bring. So Jesus is offering Thomas this peace, but then Jesus goes above and beyond and he says, put your hand in my side and touch my wounds. Thomas already knew that Jesus was alive in that moment because he saw him.
Right.
Thomas didn't need to do this thing. And I think that the grace that Jesus provided in that moment to say, touch these wounds, was for Thomas to see that or to understand that when he didn't see Jesus and he said, and I will not believe Jesus is here until I touch his wounds. It's like Thomas was able to see that Jesus was with him even when he wasn't there. Jesus heard Thomas. He heard the heart of Thomas that said, I need a touch. And it's not like Thomas was like, oh, you're here. I can finally touch you. Jesus offered his body to Thomas to say touch, even though Thomas wouldn't have needed to in that moment. What Thomas needed was to know that when Jesus wasn't there, he was there because he was there enough to hear him say, I need a touch.
I like it.
Yeah. So the idea of like living in the tension of the pain of today, the difficulties that people are facing, that we are all facing.
The division,
the arguments, the estrangement in our families, all of the areas, the betrayals, all of the areas that are really hard and dark and feeling impossible when we feel like we're alone. And we think, oh, I just need to wait till the morning because that's when joy will appear. Yes, that is true because everything happens differently when we get a good night's sleep, but also to know that Christ is with us in that darkness, that he's listening to the cries of our heart. And in the morning, he might appear and be like, touch my side.
Right.
But he's been with us all along.
Oh, but what about the night? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. So you're on sabbatical.
I am.
This is Bethany at rest.
Yeah, I haven't preached a sermon in a long time. That was like my first sermon right there.
That's good.
So
No,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, welcome
sharing.
to church, guys.
Yeah. How'd she do, Nick? It's good. Okay, Nick liked it. So what are your 3 things in your life that you're proud of?
What I'm proud of. I don't know. That's a loaded question too. I'm proud of who I am. Like that I take risks in my life. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of how I am a mom. Adoption is not an easy path forward. And being a mom in general, being a parent is really hard. And I've got 3 teenagers and that's really hard. There's a lot of emotional angst and I've heard that it doesn't necessarily get easier when they become adults either. So I'm kind of bracing for that.
It's different.
Yeah. And I'm proud of being a pastor, just being able to hold space for people. I feel like I'm able to do that really well, that God uses me in that way. And I'll tack on, I'm proud of being a wife, obviously. Like Jason's the best human I've ever known. And to be able to do life together and to do everything that we do together is pretty spectacular. I feel very, very honored and blessed.
Wow.
He could be with me all the time. Like he wants to be around me 100% of the time. And I need more space than he does. So we've had to learn how to like move and dodge each other or whatever when needed. But that's like, it's a lifelong learning. Like we become better for each other as we become more aware of our own needs and more, less insecure in ourselves. So when we're more secure about who we are more secure in our relationship together. And that's been really cool.
I was
to
told
see.
that in counseling.
Oh yeah?
I don't believe it. No, I do. I do.
Yeah, it works out really well, that whole like security, that's good.
That's good. I want to go back to doubt for a minute.
Go for it.
Doubt is not the enemy of faith.
No.
Doubt's cool, man. You should question that faith.
I know.
Because if it's any good, it's going to stand.
Yeah.
Doubt is the enemy of fascism and totalitarians.
Yeah.
Narcissists. I'm going to doubt the narcissist in my life. How dare you? You can't do that. And yes. So that all deserves doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe faith deserves a little doubt and questioning, because it'll either stand or not. Truth is either truth or it isn't truth.
Yeah.
So I like that. How about exciting new developments for y'all? And I guess we could talk about sabbatical
Sure.
and maybe significant challenges coming up.
Okay. Anything specific about that?
I don't know. How about challenges in getting to a place of rest and sabbatical? Just slowing it down.
Yeah.
How's that gone?
It's so hard.
Are you halfway through? Are you about at the halfway?
Yeah, we're halfway through.
You're at halftime already.
Oh, and sometimes I'm just like, oh gosh, I never want to go back to work. I love not having responsibilities. I mean, obviously, I'm still a mom of 3 teenagers, and there's just a load of responsibilities with that. But it took me a while to settle down. I think one of the hardest parts about a sabbatical, at least the one that we're taking, is it's not like a research sabbatical. So there's nothing to show for it at the end. So I like to like accomplish things in my life. I like to produce content for people. I've taken a step away from social media in like when it comes to posting. And that's been hard because I really love to write good stuff to share with other people.
Are you making notes for your future?
I haven't been.
Outlining anything?
No, I know. It's really weird. It'll
come up. It'll come up.
Yeah. It's a discipline to not produce and just to be. It's been really hard, but really good, really healing in a lot of ways. There's just like this thought, I think, and maybe you feel this too. I don't think it's just for pastors, but that I need to be needed, or if I'm not on demand for somebody's needs, then I don't have value.
Somehow diminished.
Yeah. So it's
so on demand, like instant demand access.
Yeah. And that's something I love. I love being accessible for people.
But that's a two-edged sword.
It is.
Because the burnout could be part of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love sharing my life with people. So posting pictures and what I'm up to, it's really fun for me. The problem with it is that it can easily become this little dopamine rush that I find myself needing more and more of. So I'll go on social media just to check if people have engaged with whatever I've done. And most of the time it's fairly healthy, but it can get unhealthy pretty quick for me. And I was talking to another pastor and I was mentioning like, I haven't been on social media a lot. And she said, my discipline is to be on social media because I want to be unseen. I want to like be in my own little life, and I'm more of an introvert. So social media is a discipline for me to put myself out there. So it's just, there's different paths forward, I guess.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Well, I brought my bell. Okay. Do you know what time that is of the show, Nick? That's the time where we ask Bethany favorite things about Humboldt. Are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what should I ask first? Hey, what's your favorite cocktail place? Or if you and Jason were going to go get a cocktail, where would you go?
Oof, that's a hard question. There's so many great places.
There's a lot.
Okay, can I name my top 3?
Of course.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Oh, you will.
Oh, geez, Louise. I'm not much of a cocktail drinker. I like a good glass of wine or a really good beer.
Okay.
So for beer, Redwood Curtain all the time. Although going to the Madeira Brewery is nice because of the sun.
And you can walk from your house.
I can walk from my house and walk home.
Crawl home.
I love Septentrio. It has such a good vibe. The Wine Cellar is a great place to get a glass of wine. Libation is awesome. Narayan is the owner there, and he knows wine really, really well. And then honestly, so Jason and I do a date night every Friday. And it started during COVID. We started our date nights in the back of our Subaru.
Oh.
We would put the hatch up and put like blankets in the back seat and put all the back seats down. And we'd put out a charcuterie board and share a really nice bottle of wine together and watch a movie. And we like allowed our kids to have unending screen time from like 6 p.m. to midnight.
Would you actually drive somewhere or just do
No,
that?
we would go in our backyard. We would like park in our driveway.
It's blue like it's sunny, kids.
So we did that during COVID. And then once things started opening up, we decided to go back out. And so what a favorite place to end up oftentimes is Mazzotti's. I love going there and getting a glass of wine and sitting at the bar with Jason. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of places.
That's a lot, yeah.
It makes me sound like I imbibe a lot, but goodness,
maybe whatever. Okay, so let's go number 2.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Totally.
What's your favorite burger in the whole county? If you had to go get a burger right now, you're super famished.
Shoot.
Where would you go?
Somebody asked me that the other day. Oh, we had burgers on 4th of July, and there was a whole argument at our house about the burger joint being the best. And then somebody else was like, no, Stars is the best. And somebody else said In-N-Out, the best burger. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Just threw out 3, but
yeah. I love a good cheeseburger. I think Stars would be my favorite, just easy go-to place.
Yeah.
It always feels good. I don't love their fries. I love French fries. French fries are my jam. So my favorite fries would be APD, Arcade Pizza and Deli. In the same realm would be Loco Fish Co. They've got great fries too.
Yeah, had theirs.
Yeah.
Funny story, Burger King, McKinleyville.
They've got great fries?
It's so, my son-in-law said, oh, their fries. I go, you have terrible taste in food.
I love McDonald's fries.
And they're not bad. And if you get In-N-Out fries hot, I think they're the best.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. How about you have 4 hours to go hike and go on a solitude hike and pray and bring a notebook, bring your phone, don't bring your phone, just go be with God, nature. Where do you hike? Where would you go?
Locally. I don't go very far. I usually just do the Beef Loop on the Sunnybray Trail. I love the Arcata Ridge Trail. And
it's all behind Arcata.
All behind Arcata.
Let me show you where it's at, folks.
Oh, yeah. You got this map here.
It's right over in here at Arcata.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to hit this too hard because it fell down last time.
They can all see it.
Yeah, it's right.
They can see it.
It's right.
It's just right behind you.
You'll love it. It's right behind Arcata. Yeah. No, that's Joni's jam. She loves to hike up there.
Yeah. I just hiked the Beef Trail with my friend Deanna this morning, and it was so
kind of
nice.
steep, right?
Oh, yeah. There's some steep spots. You have to stop talking on the steep spots and just like focus on breathing.
Yeah. We really like Prairie Creek because there's 1,000 trails. We went to Lions Road. It's way up Bald Hills. Like way.
I've never been over there.
Oh, it was wild. It was like we hiked and it was like 83 and we were lightweights. I had to stop. My buddy was having a rough time, but Joni and Sarah trudged on, ever stalwart.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It's beautiful back there. Well, cool. How do you give back to Humboldt?
How do I give back to Humboldt?
Yeah. Besides being an amazing friend and a shepherd and a connector and a relationship person, how do you give back?
Yeah. A few ways. I am on with the Justice for Josiah Lawson group. So I work with a number of people in Humboldt County trying to work for justice for David Josiah Lawson, who was murdered at a Arcata house party a few years ago. And so I work with Charmaine Lawson, and she comes up here almost every month to hold a vigil for her son and to remind this community that her son will not be forgotten about until we get justice, or not forgotten at all. And I, as a pastor, we do a lot of food things for people in need. At the Arcata United Methodist Church, we feed 90 people on Sundays, every Sunday.
Wow.
And it's a really important ministry that we do there. And sometimes I get to write for the Lost Coast Outpost. I do a little faith column. It's been a long time since I've written for them, but I'd like to start doing that again and just being available for people, I think, is one of the things that I feel really, really called to. Like a non-judgmental presence where people can have their questions about faith, about Jesus, about the church, about if anything matters, if there is anything to believe in anymore, with their skepticism and all of it. Like I just
doubt,
all their doubt. Yeah, yeah. I think that I think the more that we can have honest conversations without fear of ostracizing people, I think is important.
I like it.
Yeah.
Safe place to be doubtful.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on in, Thomas. We've been waiting for you. Come
That's right. Peace be with you.
Yeah. So tell me what you see for the future of Humboldt. What do you see? What do you like? What scares you? What keeps you up at night? What do you see for this place in 5 to 10 years?
I have a lot of hope for this place. I have a lot of hope for what we can continue to become. I think this community is really good at showing up for each other. Yeah. I'm really proud of how we do that. I think that there's a lot that gets overlooked, though. A lot of people get overlooked and dehumanized. And I think we can do a better job as a community in showing up for the good of those who are forgotten about. I think that our mental health system is really broken here. And I know that there's a lot of amazing people doing really good work in the system, and they are working themselves to the bone and they are exhausted. They need a sabbatical. So what I hope is not to see more burnout. What I hope is to see more resources so we can hire more people to meet the needs in this area. Mental health is huge. My son struggles with it. My husband struggles with it. And we just need more help, more compassion for people who are struggling.
It's been a thread in the podcast here.
Yeah.
One is we live in the medical desert.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do about that? What are we going to do about that? And not just people with money or business people or government people. How do we all chip in and make that a reality? Bring doctors and specialists and mental health specialists to Humboldt to stay for 5 or 10 or 20 years and to minister their magic, do their thing. The other thing we haven't talked about is autism, which it's just come up like...
Yeah, I've noticed in your podcast a number of times.
I'm like bringing it up. I don't know, even to make segue, just maybe to say the word that, hey, that's out there too. And they're overlooked, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Folks that suffer on that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
my son's on the spectrum and there are resources for people, and it takes a lot of advocating on the parents' part. And a lot of parents are so exhausted with the day in and day out. That it's hard to even know how to advocate or even how to look for resources, and that's really hard. It's really hard.
That advocating is not taught by very many. A few, some exceptions, but So it's many years from now. We're walking to your gravesite in Blue Lake.
Okay.
And on your gravestone, besides all the dates and your name and everything, maybe that embellished picture or something. What's that say there? What's that quote?
She loved well.
Wow. Powerful. Good. I like it.
Yeah. What would be on yours, Scott?
I had it. Return to joy.
Yeah.
Wait, he's returned to joy.
Oh, I love that.
That's from our Dallas Willard friend, Steve Darnell turned us onto this book. And one of the 4 principles of good leadership is returning to joy. Keeping relationships intact. The envelope of relationship always stays intact.
Yeah.
Because it can handle other things. And enduring hardship well, which we're being thrust into by virtue of some of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
What else? What else would you like to add? Nate? Your show, go. You're the host. Tis.
Yeah. What would you want to see in this county changed or become better? How would you want to see it?
That's a good question. I think there's so much division, and it turns into trite BS and political jockeying and emotional. And I'd like to see that cut through and get to the core of who people really are and see them connect.
How do you think that could happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know what I want. I just don't know how to get that. And, you could say peace and world peace and Humboldt peace. And I don't know. And I don't think you're going to meet all the needs because Soham's different from Hoopa, different from Trinidad.
Yeah.
Northern Humboldt. So it's like there's, how do you, and this has come up. So education, medicine, trails, jobs.
Yeah.
Housing. Hey, how about housing right now? And I don't know how it's, Joni and I were talking about how does it all start? And how do you meet every one of those needs? And I don't think you do. I think there's limited resources. It's America. We're loaded with money, but that doesn't mean that every need gets met. Mm-hmm. And sadly, not very well sometimes. But so that's how do you meet all the needs? That'd be, and then in division.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's done because we're not. And sometimes money is not it. We've thrown money at homelessness for a long time, and people still like to camp and have a bucket, and hang out. So I don't, above my pay grade, and I'm not the master of the universe, it turns out. But but I'm a really good critic, and I can identify all this really well, sadly well. But I'd like to maybe play my position, and do well, and whatever those connections are that are one-to-one, and make that difference.
That's good.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, I think that there's a savior complex that a lot of Americans hold on to, that it's easy to feel overwhelmed with the amount of need when we believe that we're the ones that are supposed to meet the need, or if I don't do this, then it's not going to happen.
Right.
But the problem so often that I've seen within every realm, not just like the business sector or the political sector or even the religious, there's this level of competition that we have that keeps people from feeling connected. And so it's like we arrive into a room, whether it's into a Rotary space or Toastmasters or a church building or whatever it is, that we're trying to like create connection and community. And oftentimes people arrive with this sense of superiority, or that I've got nothing to receive. I'm the best in this room or whatever,
right.
this competition. And so we come with like our feathers ruffled, and, it's like, well, what do you do? Oh, well, I do this. Well, what do you do? Well, I do this. And like one-upping each other instead of just being aware of our brokenness, of our need for each other, and that without each other, nothing will get done.
Getting curious.
Get curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And its ugly cousin, which is the other folks that come in completely broken and unwilling to connect.
Yeah.
Because they're whatever, feeling unworthy, or I'm a horrible person, and I'm another poser and an outsider in a Rotary meeting. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. And I think that's equally sad.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to mask our insecurities.
I like that, losing the competition thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know a lot of business people that were really super successful, and as they got successful, they lost the competition thing, and they're kind of connectors now.
Huh.
So how could we get them a little connecting a lot earlier?
Yeah.
When it wasn't vicious and cannibalistic and narcissistic and crazy. So
Brene Brown talks a lot about scarcity and how there's this belief that there's only so much, so many resources, so much of this pie. And if I don't get my share, then I'm going to lose out, instead of seeing it as like, oh no, there is more than enough.
And the logical response is super competitive.
Totally.
Vicious.
Yeah. Taking, grabbing, controlling, manipulating to stay ahead. And oftentimes the people that are hurt the most are not just the person that's doing it, because obviously they're getting hurt too, but there's a lot of vulnerable people out there that are overlooked.
Yeah.
Not like we're going to solve it today on this podcast, but
I think identifying it's a great step.
Yeah, I agree.
So last question about the new book.
Okay.
Tell us more. What's your vision? What's your vision for your book?
Okay. I started this book a long time ago. I just decided to pick it back up. It's on adoption. And, my kids are adopted, and I was able to utilize to be a part of the foster care system. And, but the writer Paul in the Bible, he used the language of adoption quite often to describe this relationship that we have as human beings in this vast family of God. And for us today, we could think of it as like, oh, well, adoption is just like, here's a baby there, there's a baby there. Mm-hmm. But for the people back then, it meant a lot more because Roman adoption was, it was very much about power plays and who gets to get ahead. And so for Paul to use this language of adoption to a people that had no power would have been really mind-blowing. So I do a lot of like historical stuff about what was happening during that time and then how it can translate into today. And then I share a little bit of my own story and then what it means to be a beloved child of God, to know that you are more than anything else in this entire world, that you are loved, that you are worthy of love, and that you are loved.
Forgiven, accepted, justified. Hey, made complete.
Made complete.
How's that? Somebody said, how's that a bad deal? It's the best deal in the universe, folks.
It just takes a lot for us to receive the truth of that because there's so many things that make us believe that we're not worthy of that.
I'm curious about those things. Those are another podcast, but those things that get in the way of that, it's like that unworthy, weird. Yeah, I'm just horrible, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh well, that's not very curious of you.
Yeah,
that belovedness. So, and adoption. So, as an adopted child, I have all the rights of the blood child.
Right. More so in the Roman culture.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So if you were adopted as so in the Roman culture, if you were adopted, it was like a way to, again, gain power. So Caesar Augustus was adopted. And, there's this like, if a person in power and economic means didn't have an heir who could continue forth the family line, then they would then adopt a person from another family in a similar economic status, sociostatus. So they wouldn't choose some random kid that didn't have a family that was an orphan. They would actually ask their friends' kids or their friends, who have a few extra sons.
Who they knew they could, I don't want to say groom, but manipulate.
To be their son and take on the family name.
Right.
So usually it was something that happened for teenagers or people children who had already passed the, if they were going to have any kind of like failure to thrive or something, to make sure that this kid would then live and be healthy and to be able to bear this family name even better than the father. Yeah. So it was something that was chosen on both sides. The father would choose the son and get permission from that family. The son would then have to choose that father back, and it would be a public experience. They would have to go to the town square. And once that kid then was adopted by this new family, they would gain a new name, a new social status, a new inheritance. The old was gone, and they were totally this new person in this new family. And then, so for people in the church, they would never be the ones that would be chosen for adoption because they weren't people of means. They wouldn't be the successful person that could carry on.
An elitist practice.
It was an elitist practice.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
And so
for Paul to use that language to say that.
Pretty radical.
The Father in heaven wants to adopt you, thinks that you, person that has no means, no, who might be disabled, who comes from a really shady background, who's a slave, all of these things that make them so they're absolutely unadoptable. The Father wants to adopt you because the Father thinks that you are worthy to carry on that family name.
I like it.
Yeah.
All of us broken, shady.
I know. Messed up.
Goofy.
Yeah.
Addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a family.
Yep.
There's a Father. I love it. Any parting shots before we go?
Parting shots?
Yeah.
I don't know.
When's the book coming out?
Gosh, I have no idea.
Next year?
Let's say next year.
Got to get through the sabbatical.
Yeah, got to get through the sabbatical, and then we'll see. We'll see if I can get it published, or if I can't, then I'll self-publish, which is fine.
Yeah,
it works.
Easier all the time.
Yeah.
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 It's funny with AI now. It's like it's writing a lot of things for people.
I know. I know. There's a lot of interesting, I don't know, ethical dilemmas there.
It is interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So. I think we're meant to wrestle with that.
Yeah. Well, with that, gosh, I hate to say goodbye. This has been fun.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no, thanks for being here. And tell Jason I said hi.
I will.
And we'd love to have you back.
Thanks. Anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks, Bethany.
You're welcome.